I grew up Catholic. My parents are Catholic, so it's always been part of my life.
So my religious upbringing is complex. My mother, her side of the family is Hindu, but then she transitioned to Roman Catholic. And then as I got older, we went more to church. So I have both a background of Hinduism as well as Catholicism.
I was raised like going to church as a kid. My mom's family is very Christian. My dad's family is very Muslim. And so we were raised kind of like, okay, well, how do you guys feel? And I was like, I'm going to go read a book. So
I'm not religious, although I grew up extremely religious by choice, which is very rare. What I was seeking was spirituality, and that was the only space that I knew I could find it.
Spirituality is a way of life for Indigenous people. As a two-spirit person, is my traditional role and responsibility. I'm born a two-spirit person, which means I was born gifted. I was gifted by the Creator with the ability to, shift and move energy and connect and teach and share and do all the wonderful, great things that two-spirit people do.
I grew up in a very traditional Pakistani Muslim household, and it's important for me to say Pakistani Muslim because that sense of religion and culture was conflated for me and hard to separate, which made it very problematic when none of those versions had space for me.
I was going to school and I was one of two Latinx kids in the class. So I was thirsting for my culture. And then so on Sundays, I would get to go to a building full of people that spoke my language, that I spoke at home. There would be food served that, was like traditional foods, and everyone came together after and talked and shared. And, I saw my friends, and it was one of those things where for that Sunday afternoon, I got to connect with my culture. And so that spirituality and culture piece were so interlinked. And, having that decision to come out and live openly as queer meant I had to step away from that.
What organized religion does is provides a community to people who need it. Because we all need community. We all need a sense of belonging. For me, growing up, Christianity gave me the rule book for how to live and gave me a community that didn't judge me to my face, at least.
The religious institutions that I was aware of as an adolescent and as a kid definitely made me feel alienated as a queer kid. Even in terms of Islam, men do certain things and women do certain things. And in terms of Christianity as well, men do specific things and fulfill specific roles, and women do certain things and fulfill specific roles. And I never felt very comfortable with either of those.
When I first came out, my mother's first comments were about the Catholic beliefs and stuff like that. So, it's been very pounded into me, but it never served my purpose, and it didn't bring me the comfort that it may bring other people. So I've kind of bowed away from it myself.
Growing up, my parents actually never said, you need to go to church. This is a thing that you need to do. It was at a young age, I was seeking it. So I would say to my mom, I want to go to church because I really, was connected to spirituality.
Spirituality, again, is a way of life. It's not something that we just do on Sundays or Wednesdays. It's a way of life that we try to walk in a good way, in a balanced way with all things, all people, animate, inanimate. We believe that all things have spirit. Everything's alive. And we have a relationship with all things.
The version that I practice today is a departure from what I grew up with. And at the same time, my relationship and my connection with God, with a higher power, with a higher purpose is stronger than it's ever been. And I think that's a result of shedding that version of Islam that asks you to come from a place of fear and from a place of anxiety and panic, and to work towards getting to a place where your relationship is anchored in this profound sense and understanding of love and compassion.
And I am very angry at a lot of the things that not only Catholicism but Hinduism preaches and continues to pass off as law. People taking something beautiful and something pure and something that we can learn from and grow from and twisting it into hatred and using that as a weapon against people who want to spread the love and want to spread different ways of being.
I grew up going to church, and it wasn't very accepting of queer people. I went to a church that wasn't we'll throw you out if you're queer, but they definitely weren't encouraging of it, and they encouraged folks to come, but as a means of conversion. And that's something I never knew in my heart to be correct or something that God would want.
I do feel like a lot of spaces still need some work in regards to access to spirituality. That's things like having a place where I can go to smudge or to pray, rather than just going, oh, I need to smudge, I guess I'm sitting in the parking lot outside. Due to things like residential schools and stuff, Christian symbolism and Christian influence can be harmful to our communities, to our Indigenous and Two-Spirit communities. And it impacts sort of that idea of having a safe spiritual space. Hospitals are a good example of being asked to go somewhere where I can pray and being brought into a church space with crosses and Bibles lining the walls. It needs to be more inclusive and less Christian-centric.
You know, I get to be a part of this mosque in Kitchener-Waterloo called the KW Unity Mosque. It's a very small, very niche, very underground space. And what I mean by that is that this is a progressive, radical space that is one of prayer and community, but is also a far cry from like what mainstream mosques look like. You know, it's 2S LGBTQ affirming. It's a demonstration of shared authority. There is no one leader. There is no gender segregation. There's no dress code. People are invited to show up as they are, and so those spaces exist, and I know of that because I get to be a part of a couple of them. But it's also those spaces that carry this immense burden and weight of bringing these spaces and these like values of inclusivity up out of the grassroots and into the mainstream. And that's really hard when they're not welcome in the mainstream.
As soon as I found the community in Waterloo region, as soon as I found a queer community, as soon as I found a group of friends who accepted me and loved me, as soon as I found a different way, I didn't need church to fill that need anymore. I personally only was so devoted to the church because I didn't have any other community accepting me. And I think that church can be a beautiful thing for the people who want to go and for the people who want to believe that sort of stuff. But shouldn't be the only opportunity to find a safe community. And I'm so glad that I found the community that I did and that I've grown so much in my understanding of who I am